Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Pastyachare Shatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vyasa Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtata Sadashri Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Anantakota Vaishnav Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Shraharasa Thakur Ki. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki, Shri Mayapur Dham Ki, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki, Ganga Maya Ki, Jamuna Maya Ki, Tulasi Deva Ki, Bhakti Deva Ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Lord Chaitanya's Harinama Sankirtan Ki, Brihat Madanga Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Gaura Premanandi, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So I've been requested to give a little message today for all of you around the world in different locations. It's a little humbling for me, a little embarrassing in a sense to be in this situation, but today I'll try to speak a little bit, hopefully to enliven you a little bit, to make us feel a little closer together, and especially closer to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, who is our Siksha Guru for all of us, Diksha Guru for some of us, but he is our life and soul. Through him the message of Godhead has been distributed all over the world, and somehow by his divine grace we are able to come together. We're able to remember a little bit about our spiritual identities, our constitutional position, understanding what real relationship means in relationship with Krishna on the spiritual platform. At our stage we may be relating on the, you could say, the practical sense of the term, on the platform of sadhana bhakti, learning to appreciate all living entities in sense of their relationship with Krishna, but particularly those devotees who are trying, despite whatever shortcomings we may have, despite whatever challenges we may have, we're trying to render service together in this glorious movement of ISKCON, which Srila Prabhupada has given the world, trying to work cooperatively together, although we all have our own individualities, etc., to fulfill Srila Prabhupada's desire of unity and diversity. So, dear disciples, friends, well-wishers, please accept my best wishes and blessings on this occasion, every occasion, but especially now, as we can't get together so very much this year due to circumstances beyond our control. And I'm here in France at the moment, as you probably know. We're having a small program here this year in New Mayapur. Primarily it's just some of the devotees from our local yatras here in France who will be assembling together. And we hope that many of you will also join us on Zoom or some other social media methodology, and perhaps we'll be hearing from many of you on that particular day. Firstly, I offer my respects to all of you, whoever you are, whatever situation we're all in. We offer you respect because you've all embraced the path of the Mahajans, the great pure Vaishnavas in our disciplic succession, and this opportunity given to us by Srila Prabhupada. And we'd like to thank you all for doing whatever you can to please Srila Prabhupada, to please the past acharyas, and of course ultimately the Supreme Lord and his associates. But whatever service and efforts your rendering to assist Srila Prabhupada in spreading this great mission everywhere. And I'd just like to remind us all that in reality we are completely indebted, eternally indebted, and internally related to our eternal spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. It brings back memories of 1973 when Srila Prabhupada was in Bhaktivedanta Manor in the United Kingdom. And on that day he spoke. It was his Vyasa puja day, and he spoke twice on that day on the subject matter of spiritual master, upon guru-disciple relationship, etc. So I'd just like to play a little bit of some of the things that Srila Prabhupada said on that day.
So anyway, although I began very late at the age of 70 years, so by the help of my disciples, this movement is gaining ground and is spreading all over the world. So therefore I have to thank you. It is all due to you. It is not my credit, but it is your credit that you are helping me in executing the order of my Guru Maharaj.
This lecture, Srila Prabhupada was, you could say, speaking his heart in the most humble way. This is the nature of the pure devotees. They take no credit. Of course, we should see it as our greatest good fortune, to have received this opportunity. It's not that the spiritual master is indebted to us, as Prabhupada is expressing there. He may feel like that. But from the disciples' point of view, we don't see that the spiritual master is indebted to us, or that his organization owes us something for whatever services we've rendered. It's not like that. That may be the material way of looking at things, but the spiritual way, not at all. We are eternally indebted to Srila Prabhupada and the great Mahajans for their causeless mercy, because they've been giving us the greatest of all gifts. The greatest of all gifts is the opportunity to be engaged in devotional service. And freeing us, devotional service is the means to free us from the, we could say, the deadly illusion of thinking that we ourselves are the beneficiary of the fruits of our work, and consequently thinking ourselves the enjoyer of the fruits of our work. This is the great disease which we tend to suffer from in this material world. And the pure devotees of the Lord, by engaging us in devotional service, giving us their association in this way, give us this opportunity to become freed from this tabernacle of birth and death which we're so attached to try to awaken within our hearts a little attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. So on this day, we could say in any day in fact, when we worship and recognize the mercy of the Supreme Lord coming through our disciplinate succession, we should also take to heart that when we receive such blessings in the form of the merciful instructions which our acharyas impart to us, it behooves us to know how to actually take the instructions. It's not just a matter of receiving instructions. We have to learn the science of actually how to take those instructions. Like how to take, Prabhupada gives the example of how to take medicine. Just as the doctor may prescribe medicine, but the patient must take it according to the instructions, otherwise it won't be effective. Same thing on the path of devotional service. It may vary a little bit from one to the next, from one place to the next, depending on our degree of maturity in Krishna consciousness, our particular material situation, etc. May have some detailed effect, but the basic principle is we have to follow the medicine, the prescription given by the spiritual master. These are the regulated, Krishna describes the regulative principles of freedom, to free us from our forgetfulness of Krishna. This is a basic disease condition, you could say, which we're in. And the Acharya prescribes the curative medicine for our spiritual disease condition. If we are serious and actually interested in our own welfare, we will take it according to his direction. Maybe we can help each other to become more serious. It's very easy to become lax, especially when we're living away from the association of devotees. To become lazy, to become doubtful, whatever it may be. This is the system. This is our system of parampara, without whose access one cannot receive the Lord's mercy. It is through the spiritual master that the mercy flows from the absolute powerhouse. One time when Srila Prabhupada was talking with his disciples, one of the disciples was reading from the Gurvastakam prayers. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the mercy of Krishna. Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prashana. We sing this in the morning at Mangalarti. Many of you probably sing this in your homes. Well, Prabhupada replied when he was read, or he commented rather, when the devotee read that particular line. So if you don't follow the spiritual master, Prabhupada said, then how can you get his mercy? Mercy is always there. But if you don't take it, then what the spiritual master or father will do, if we don't take the mercy, what can they do? You have to take it. That is seriousness. Therefore, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, the order of my spiritual master is my life. I do not know whether I get liberation or not. That is not my business. My business is to carry out the order of my spiritual master. Prabhupada spoke that almost exactly 50 years ago, in 1971 in Los Angeles. Reminded that mercy is always there. Sometimes the devotee asks, please give me your mercy, and Prabhupada said, the mercy is there already. Especially in the form of his books, in the form of his instructions. It's not that it's some kind of like esoteric, imperceptible factor that descends from a higher plane. It does, but it comes through the instructions. It's not just coming as if it's some kind of like, out of nowhere. It's a tangible factor of the spiritual master's mercy. Tangible. The mercy is always there, Prabhupada said. The problem is that you could say we're not always there. Huh? We're somewhere else. Prabhupada is giving us his association, the acharyas are giving us their association, and our hearts are somewhere else. Spiritual Master is always endeavoring to connect us with a lifeline. Parampara is like a lifeline. And Prabhupada gave that example of a man who was drowning in a well, calling out for help. We're all drowning in a well, in the material world. And the secret is to call out for help, just like a child crying for its mother. The mother comes. That's why Prabhupada says that we should chant Hare Krishna just like a child crying for its mother. So the man is drowning in the well and he's calling, help, help. And by good fortune, along comes his rescuer. The rescuer throws a rope into the well. Okay, take hold of the rope, I'll pull you out. And the drowning man says, no, 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 help me, help me. And you say, well, I'm helping you, take the rope. And the man says, no, 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 please help me to take the rope. And Prabhupada says, that much we have to do. The rope is there. We have to hold on to that rope of mercy, coming down into this degraded, especially in this day and age that we're living, this degraded world of materialism, where we're systematically, basically speaking, systematically rejecting Krishna and putting ourselves in the center. And when the help comes along, we don't always take it. We try to interpret it, we reject it, we edit it to that which we like, and reject that which we don't like, etc., etc. So therefore we don't get the full effect of that mercy to release us or to pull us out of this dark ocean of birth and death. This is only, unfortunately, only too often, this is our unfortunate situation. We don't take advantage of the mercy of the spiritual master. Often we hear, when sometimes devotees even say, when Krishna wants, or what can I do, it's my karma. That's not actually the fact. It may be from the external point of view, But Krishna's waiting. When do we want? It's a matter of desire. To awaken that desire that we want to go back to Godhead, that we want to become Krishna conscious. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it always fits in with our particular conditional desires or our conditional situations. It might do. Some occasions it does, and some occasions it doesn't. But the desire to go back to Godhead, this is the Krishna's waiting to see. And sometimes we hear the example when a child really, really cannot be satisfied with anything but the mother's attention, then the mother gives her full attention. As long as the child is still interested in toys and various other attractive items, the mother may not give her full attention. But when nothing else satisfies the child, then the mother will give her full attention. So similarly, Krishna is waiting, and the spiritual master is trying to encourage us in this way, engage us in this way, so it will awaken within us this strong desire to become Krishna conscious. It's not just a matter of giving up material desires, it's a matter of cultivating also the desire to be Krishna conscious. That includes acting, living, thinking, etc. in a way that will please Krishna. The spiritual master is teaching us how we can mold our lives in order to please Krishna. So we may put forward all kinds of excuses to avoid the simple solution. It's a very simple solution. We make it a little complicated. Sometimes it's a very simple solution. As Krishna emphatically emphasizes in the Bhagavad Gita, simply surrender unto me, giving up all of our false egoistical speculations as to how to save ourselves, etc. It's not so complicated. Krishna is the deliverer. We're not delivering ourselves exactly by our so-called efforts alone. We have to make our effort, but ultimately it depends on Krishna's mercy. We have to hold on. That rope which we just heard about, we have to hold on to that rope tightly. Don't let go of that. That's the rope of mercy coming through the Parampara. And it has no adulteration. Just like if we're hoping to, let's say, activate an electrical appliance and we plug it into the socket, we expect that there's no break in the line. If there's a break in the electric wire, we may not get any result. It looks like everything's going on, but there's no energy coming, no real energy coming. So Parampara means that unbroken line of disciplinate succession. And we'll hear more about that in a little minute, but that's basically how it is. So we should hold on tightly to that unadulterated instruction coming through the line of Parampara. Krishna is telling us in no uncertain terms, you could say in Bhagavad Gita, the method is simply to surrender. Krishna will deliver us, as he says himself in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharma Prijaya. He will deliver us from this, all of our sinful reactions, and deliver us from fear. Fear is based upon identification with the body as a self. So Krishna will free, as they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. So Krishna removes these obstacles on our path to the degree that we're actually surrendering to him. So that's the method of holding on to the rope, is that we surrender to Krishna's will. Through the transparent media of the spiritual master, the pure message of Godhead is passed on. There's no other method. There's not just a method of reading the books. There's not just a method of prayer. Of course, is very, very significant and very important. But ultimately, it's through the message, through the mercy of the spiritual master, through the media of the spiritual master, that the message of Godhead is passed on and is realized, because the Lord reveals it within our hearts when one pleases his Tvadiya, Nishchaya Paya Chakeva, when we please the pure devotee of the Lord. There's no other way to go back to Godhead other than the service of the pure devotees of the Lord. Unless you fix up your mind, Prabhupada says, or he said in 1968, Prabhupada said, unless you fix up your mind to serve your spiritual master, who is the direct representative of Krishna, it is not possible to approach Krishna. Krishna is approached through the transparent, via media, the spiritual master. You know, wherever we go in this world, there's a method of going, there's a method of approaching. Even, we could say, a local administrator in office in wherever we are in the world. There's a process of getting there, let's say an interview with them or whatever it may be. One has to go through the methodology. If we want to enter a country, there's a process of entering the country. We have to go through the immigration, we have to have the visas, the customs, the passport. Many things may be required. So similarly to approach Krishna, although Krishna is in our heart, he's everywhere, but he reveals himself in this way. He reveals himself through the media of the pure devotees of the Lord. When one pleases the spiritual master, then Krishna, up to him, his mercy depends on his mercy, but that's the method that he reveals himself. Everyone wants, yet generally speaking, when we approach a guru, a spiritual master, or any spiritualistically inclined persons maybe, we often ask for blessings. But the real blessings from the spiritual master are the instructions which he showers upon us. This is the real blessings. And he does that in so many ways. In one letter Srila Prabhupada wrote in 1968 to Dayananda Prabhu, I'm so pleased to learn that you are constantly trying to follow my instructions. Of course, I have no particular instructions, save and accept the instruction which I have also heard from my spiritual master. Prabhupada would always say this. He said, I have no credit. My credit is that I've not changed anything which I've heard from my spiritual master. Same thing with the instructions. He said, I've got no particular instruction. I'm simply repeating what I've heard from my spiritual master. So all instructions in the disciplic succession directly come from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, to follow the instructions of a spiritual master is to follow the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as soon as we are accustomed to this habit, then all our misgivings of material existence are over. It's interesting, Prabhupada said, accustomed to this habit. We become accustomed to so many habits in this material world, accepting them as ourselves, accepting them as our guides, etc., and so on. So we have to be accustomed to the habit of following the instructions of the spiritual master. It sounds quite easy. We know how many diversions are. His blessings are also, we could also understand, it's not just his instructions exactly. Certainly the association of the spiritual master is also his merciful, his blessings, his kirtans, his attitude, his example. If you go on, his pure devotion, his encouragement, his love for all beings, his unflinching love for his Guru and Krishna, his unending compassion, his tolerance, humility, and every other quality of any value. We can say they're all the qualities of the spiritual master, the pastimes of the spiritual master. Everything is also the mercy. There's no doubt about that. The blessings of the spiritual master are received in that good fortune of getting that opportunity to associate with him. Prabhupada said his books are his blessings. He gave so many examples of how his blessings are being delivered. We just, again, it's the same thing. We just have to take advantage of those opportunities whenever we can. Many of us probably look back on Srila Prabhupada's personal presence on the planet and regret that we didn't take nearly enough advantage of so many of these opportunities to get his blessings and his association in so many ways. But the real way that we get the blessing of the spiritual master is through his Vani, through his instructions. And anyone, anywhere, any place, any time, gets this opportunity to take that opportunity to associate with the spiritual master, meditating on their instructions and how to fulfill those instructions. On this day of Vyasa Puja day, on any day, come to that, is a great opportunity to meditate on that. How can I bring pleasure to my spiritual master and consequently Srila Prabhupada and the disciplic succession? To be our meditation. What can I do in my life to advance or become, as Prabhupada said many times, you please me by advancing and becoming Krishna conscious. That's what pleases the spiritual master most. See the disciples serious in their Krishna consciousness and actually becoming Krishna conscious. Simply by seeing, hearing, or serving such a person, who has these wonderful qualities of dedication to his spiritual master, etc., it's so inspiring. Our lives have become all of us. We've all had some transformation, however much. All of us have this amazing effect of the transformation of our hearts by associating with Srila Prabhupada through whatever means it may be. Sometimes devotees just see the deity form of Srila Prabhupada, and what people see, and it just changes their heart. There's so many ways of this transformation. This is the mercy of the spiritual master, to transform our hearts. Such an opportunity we have for this transformation by associating. Simply by associating with each other, as long as we're helping to remind each other of our relationship with Krishna, especially associating with Srila Prabhupada through these various means, and his followers, those who are living examples of Srila Prabhupada's presence. They are likened to, sometimes we hear the example, in fact this example was given in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Hiranyakashipu of all persons, who described how association is acts just like a crystal. Whatever comes before it is reflected. Prabhupada gives this example many occasions in the Bhagavatam here, how by that association the qualities, actually those qualities are in all of us, but in the association of someone who has those qualities gradually start to manifest. They reflect in our hearts. And although it may not be completely, say, manifested in the absolute sense, simply the reflection itself starts to purify our consciousness. Because at the moment we're absorbed in the reflection of the spiritual world in the form of the material world, meditating on it, indulging in it, looking at it, and so on. So the more we can have that picture of the spiritual world, the picture of devotional service in our hearts, the more our consciousness becomes purified. Yes, simply take advantage of this rare opportunity. Don't waste it. This human life is so rare. His blessing, they're not just a mere sentiment. They're actually the only reality and the only path to the reality also. Devotional service is the only means. Krishna himself says there is no other way other than devotional service to understand him. Other activities may be pious, they may help us to become eligible, a little bit more inclined, whatever it is. But it's actually when we embrace devotional service that one becomes endeared to the Supreme Lord, and he may reveal himself through this process. So we're all in this unusual time right now. Physical association in many ways has been restricted. Sometimes we can't even go to the temple, we can't go to the holy dhams, and in many cases our familiar means of spreading Krishna consciousness has been curtailed. We've had to adjust to try to find so many different ways to preach or to associate with each other, etc. So we take advantage, although we don't depend on it, but in these cases we can take advantage of modern technology, connecting with each other, connecting with other people, spreading Krishna consciousness through these other channels, these modern ways of communication. Prabhupada gives an example. It's something like, some example he gives is a snake. A snake, the rat makes the hole, the snake enters into the hole and eats the rat. So the devotees utilize the modern technology, they utilize all these various means so that we can actually, ourselves as well inclusive, we can deliver living entities from the whole of material existence that we're in. And it's kind of an unusual example which Prabhupada sometimes gives, but it's a relevant example. For conditioned souls like us, the path can be tough. But now we see in this situation when it is even more apparent for many, many devotees are experiencing, externally speaking at least, various inconveniences, as the public are, as the people in general are. We can see the vivid nature of this material world. It's a place of dukkhalayam shashvatam, suffering place, temporary place full of suffering. It's an impetus for us all. Krishna has allowed this situation to occur From the devotee's point of view, it's not just karma. It's actually to help us, to give us an impetus to realize that we don't belong in this material world in reality. It's an impetus for all of us to become more dedicated and more serious in their devotional practices, realizing what other shelter do we have in this world. It's a golden opportunity for us to all progress. And also it really increases the appreciation of the value of association. When we don't get so much association, oftentimes they say absence makes the heart grow fonder. We begin to appreciate something more when we don't have it. So Krishna also, through this, allowing the situation to take place, is helping to awaken more of a deeper appreciation within our hearts for other devotees, for the movement which Prabhupada has given us in devotional service, and ultimately for devotional service to Krishna and the deities, the temples, so many things, and Prabhupada's books. It's a great opportunity now to take more seriously Srila Prabhupada's books, which means Prabhupada said he put all of his ecstasies into his books. You can know me through my books, you can associate with me through my books. It's through the Vani, our acharyas described, it's through Vani that one can really appreciate the Vapu, or the actual association of the spiritual master in its form. By following the instructions of the spiritual master, one can appreciate, or one can really understand, not just appreciate, one can realize the actual Vapu of the spiritual master. They're only solace. And a nice mention this. In 1965, when Srila Prabhupada was crossing the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, on board the Jaladuta, he wrote a wonderful poem, Prayers to the Lotus Feet, and one of the verses, he wrote that poem also, but he kept a diary, and in the diary one day, Prabhupada wrote this. He said, I'm feeling separation from Sri Vrindavan and my lords, Sri Govinda, Gopinath, Radha Damodar. 1965 in September, Prabhupada was alone on board the Jaladuta basically, and he was meditating on the deities in Vrindavan. My only solace, he says, is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in which I am tasting the nectarine of Lord Chaitanya's Leela. I have left Bharata Bhumi just to execute the order of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in pursuance of Lord Chaitanya's order. I have no qualification, but have taken up the risk just to carry out the order of His divine grace. I depend fully on their mercy, so far away from Vrindavan. And Prabhupada was in this mood, and he showed it again and again. If you read the Markandeya Bhagavat Dharma, the poem Prabhupada wrote when he arrived in America, this poem is so incredible. It's like it's like for the whole of our movement. This poem explains the foundation for our whole society, because it's the mood, not so much what we do, but the mood in which we act. And Prabhupada expresses that complete dependence upon the Lord's mercy in that poem. There are innumerable excuse me. If we want to please Srila Prabhupada and not consequently Krishna, then we should try to bury ourselves in Srila Prabhupada's books. That doesn't mean physically, but in terms of, referring to Srila Prabhupada's book again and again and again, reading them, hearing them, trying to apply the instructions therein, and distributing the books profusely in whatever way we can, and encouraging others to do likewise. Prabhupada many times said, if you really want to please me, then distribute my books. It's not very, maybe we don't think that's so easy, but it's not really so difficult. We don't have to necessarily try to imitate. There are so many ways to distribute Prabhupada's books. This doesn't just mean going out into the public, friends, through institutions, just thinking how I can assist Prabhupada in his dearmost mission to spread Krishna consciousness, and especially through these transcendental literatures. Yes, sometimes it's on this path there are many, many distractions. They're always there from innumerable sources. within. Our minds are full of various temptations due to our past associations in this world, doubts coming up in our minds, other living entities around us. Sometimes in the devotee sangha also we get distracted, from our actual goal. But again, this is a reminder for again and again, let's take shelter of the ultimate source of everything. All these other, it's okay, sources of pleasure or whatever they may be, but the ultimate source is to take shelter of Krishna, chanting Krishna's holy name. It is the only protection against this dangerous ocean of material existence. What to do? Just don't desist. Stay on the boat of devotional service. Doesn't do much good. The boat may be a bit rocky because we're on the ocean of the material ocean. Just like if we go on a boat on the ocean, sometimes it's a bit rough, but the solution is not to get off. The solution is to stay on. And luckily speaking, we're in a very safe boat of devotional service. It may be a little rocky sometimes, but we just have to stay on that boat. We have the best captain of the ship. Srila Prabhupada is our captain. We're all trying to assist him in whatever way we can. We're all also trying to assist in reminding us to get on the boat, stay on the boat, play our part on the boat, and we'll reach the other shore. No matter what the challenge, we should try not to desist in our service. Again, these situations, these challenges are great opportunities. Krishna actually arranged this to help strengthen us, and they're great opportunities to take shelter, because we see in the Shastras, whether it's whoever it may be, devotees are put into difficulty in so many ways, whether it's Haridas Thakur or whoever it may be, the wife of the Pandavas. So many great devotees were in helpless situations, and they show us that the real shelter, the real protection is crying out for the Lord's shelter. It's not that we try to defend ourselves, but that we call out for the Lord's mercy. And this way, they help to strengthen us in these difficult situations. Krishna's desire is to strengthen our resolve and conviction of the need to let go. Becoming attached to Krishna, yes, but we also have to be willing to let go of the anchors which are keeping us in this world. Yes, it's not always so easy. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said that those favored by God have their path set with thorns. And Prabhupada gives the example. We remove a thorn with a thorn. These difficulties are actually not so much difficult, they're opportunities. Opportunities to take shelter of Krishna, which will remove the cause of the very problem itself. Not just a matter of dealing with the problem. It's getting to the cause of the problem, which is basically our independence from Krishna, seeing ourselves independently from Krishna. So the spiritual master constantly reminds us to try to see things in relationship with Krishna. We could say that the thorns are the merciful hand of the Lord, plucking out the sources of pain. It's the same thing sometimes when we have a boil or something, we want to get rid of it, but the curative process of getting rid of it can be quite painful sometimes. But the physician has to do his job, and then the pain is over. So sometimes it's through strong words or through whatever method it may require. Spiritual masters' business is only to try to help release us from the causes of our bondage and to attach us to Krishna. Now this is mercy. Prabhupada wrote in one of his books, you probably heard about it, you may not have read it, it's called Renunciation Through Wisdom. A very nice book and a very nice section. I'm going to read from it. One must clearly understand that this human body is the most suitable ship to take us across the ocean of nescience. The spiritual master is the best navigator. The scriptures are the rudder, and the Lord's mercy is the perfect wind. If we do not take advantage of this excellent arrangement and cross over the material ocean of nescience, then we are our own worst enemy. We must always fix our attention on the favorable wind of the Lord's mercy, which incarnates as the spiritual master. Therefore, one must approach a spiritual master, take shelter of his lotus feet, and learn from him. We must always fix our attention on the favorable wind of the Lord's mercy, which incarnates as a spiritual master. Therefore, one must approach a spiritual master Take shelter of his lotus feet and learn from him the science of devotional service. Our progress in spiritual life depends wholly and solely on the mercy of the Lord, and that mercy is manifest in the person of Sri Guru. We are merely like little sparrows. This is not Prabhupada speaking now, I'm just commenting. We're like little sparrows trying to pick up those little drops of mercy which the spiritual master is spraying everywhere. This is our only sustenance. On this day of remembrance, let us reflect on our life's purpose. Why have we come to this shore of the ocean, separating the material from the spiritual? Let us not turn back, but hold on to the merciful instructions of the spiritual master to pull us out of this ocean of birth and death. Let us not forget, let not the negative words of critics, the wrangling of karmis, the profanity of the atheist, or the never-ending doubts that flow into our minds ever distract us from the path of back to Godhead. Vyasa yatmika bodhire keo kurnanda bahushaka yanandascha bodhyo vyavasayanam. Prabhupada used to quote this verse in regards to his own inspiration for preaching Krishna consciousness around the world. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, his comment and the translation of that verse: those who are on this path are resolute in purpose and their aim is one. O beloved child of the cruise, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. So developing this one-pointed fixation, and in the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti, which Prabhupada refers to many times, how the order of the spiritual master is my life and soul. Whether I go to heaven or to hell, whatever may happen, to me that's all that matters in my life, is to fulfill that instruction. So with determination, we can try to help each other to fulfill or fix our goal on whatever our goal may be. In our case, it's love of Godhead, love for Krishna. Helping each other to remind each other what is our goal in life. Not just the practice, but also the goal in life, pure devotional service. And there's a little quote from a purport of Srila Prabhupada in the 7th canto. Then he takes the arrow of his purified life, and with the help of the bow, the transcendental chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he throws himself towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is just a little example. As our hearts become purified, or we chant the holy name without offense, take in the holy name, we just surrender ourselves to the lotus feet of the Lord. Take the holy names as we receive it through the Guru as our only shelter. With all the humility at our command, we should chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Srila Prabhupada is our eternal Guru. He's our guide, well-wisher, and shelter on this dangerous path. Certainly to find such a qualified spiritual master is very, very rare. We should realize just how fortunate and how rare it is to get the opportunity to associate with one of the Lord's personal Senapati Bhakta, more Senapati Bhakta, described by Lochan Das Thakur in his Chaitanya Mangala, how such a personality appears in his words, more Senapati Bhakta, one of the Lord's personal associates, one of his personal generals in his army, appears in this world to take us back to Godhead. We're so fortunate to have received that opportunity and are still receiving that opportunity to associate with Srila Prabhupada. So to find such a qualified spiritual master is very rare, but our acharyas say even more rare is to find a qualified disciple. It's very, very rare in this world. We try to, by the mercy of Krishna, we can try to qualify ourselves, but ultimately we'll be depending on his mercy. We have so many shortcomings. But by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, despite all these, whatever they are, anarthas and disqualifications, and if we sincerely, continually try to serve his mission, try to follow his instructions, even though we may have our shortcomings, and sometimes fall downs are there, whatever it may be, but continually return to Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet and take up his instructions, carry the cross, as the Christians say, carry those instructions in our heart, try to apply them as much as we can, and by the mercy of, that's the mercy of the spiritual master, then by the mercy of Krishna, he may deliver us from this great ocean. Let's hope that that day will come and we will deepen our devotion and commitment to life's ultimate purpose, to go back to Godhead. And that's what Srila Prabhupada wants. He wants us all to go back to Godhead. The spiritual master wants us all to go back to the spiritual world. But for that, we certainly need mercy. The instructions are there. Follow those instructions, serving those devotees who are freed of all vice. Krishna is very pleased. He cleanses our heart of all these dirty things. This is how this highest mystical process of devotional service works, is the hand of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which personally delivers us from this ocean of birth and death.
To become spiritual master is not very difficult thing. You will have to become spiritual master. To become spiritual master is not very difficult thing. You will have to become spiritual master. You, all my disciples, everyone should become spiritual master. It is not difficult. It is difficult when you manufacture something. But if you simply present whatever you have heard from your spiritual master, it is very easy.
So there's Srila Prabhupada's request in that same lecture in 1973. He expects us all to be spiritual master. Spiritual master doesn't necessarily mean initiating, etc. It means carrying that message as it is, applying it in our lives, and trying to share it with everyone else that we can. This is the business of the spiritual master.
So I hope that all of you, men, women, boys and girls, become spiritual master and follow this principle. Spiritual master, and simply, sincerely follow the principle and speak to the general public. Then Krishna immediately becomes your favorite. Krishna does not become your favorite, you become Krishna's favorite. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Nachatasmat manusheshu kaschit me priyakritta. One who is doing this humble service of preaching word, Krishna consciousness, nobody is dearer than him to me. So if you want to become recognized by Krishna very quickly, you take up this process of becoming spiritual master, present the Bhagavad Gita as it is, your life is perfect. Thank you very much.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, we hope and pray that your spiritual lives will continue to mature and grow. Please help each other. Without the help of other devotees, you could say we're on our own. Prabhupada give the example, united we stand, divided we fall. So coming together, he gives the example of Aesop's fables, how a bunch of sticks cannot be broken very easily, where one stick can be broken very easily. And so when we're separated, it's easy to get, let's say, lax or to become weak in our spiritual lives, but by association of devotees we can gain that strength to persevere, to mature, to grow in devotional service, and to come to that platform, as Prabhupada is requesting here, of acting in that role also of spiritual master, to distribute Krishna consciousness to others. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanandi. Hare Krishna.